Hello and welcome to Muse and Metrics. This is your host, Philippa Burgess. I'm here today with another Women Techmaker Ambassador as guest. Go ahead and turn it over to you.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Blessing Ajibero, and I'm a Women Techmaker Ambassador and also a senior software engineer. And I'm happy to be here.
I love that. Happy to have you. So tell me about being a senior software engineer. That sounds exciting.
So far the journey has been long. I started out, back in college. Actually, let me take it back to my high school programming class. So there was this day, just this random day in class where my teacher at that time gave us a prompt, a programming prompt to do, and I just found it so much fun, coding, and just like it just felt like magic to me, like a different kind of magic, not the magic where you're tricking people, but like making things appear on screen, but like coding and programming. And from that day, I just decided that yes, this is what I was going to do. I was going to be a software engineer. So the journey has been well over of professional experience has been well over like 7 years. Started out as a junior developer, uh, interning for a media company, and then working for consulting companies. And right now, I'm in the life science space, and it's been an interesting journey so far. I've enjoyed every moment, learning new stacks, learning new applications as well, not just restricted to like just one field, but the advantage of like being in a consulting field is that you get to like see different applications of your tech stack. So yeah, it's been good so far. Actually, I'll take you back to when I first started, like when I decided I wanted to be a software engineer or just be a developer. Let me just say developer for simple simple terms. Back in high school, I had a class called Visual Basic Programming, and my teacher back then gave us like a prompt to do in class, and it was like something simple like build a football field or something, and the excitement in actually doing that and doing that with code felt like magic to me, like magic without all the tricks, but like magic like that. It was just fun, like coding, like make things appear on the screen, kind of magic. So like kind of like logical magic, and from there I just decided that this is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to be a programmer. And then after that, went to school for computer science, and then started working with a media company as a intern for a software engineer, as a software engineering intern, and then also worked for consulting firms as well. And uh, right now, I'm working for working in the life science field as a software engineer. So the application has been diverse, and it's just shows that it's one role, but you can use it in like various aspects, various industries, um, and it's still the same impact you're creating, or even different impact, different usage. And it's been fun so far. I I wouldn't have it any other way.
I love that. Now, when you were finding yourself pursuing this, did you find that you had role models, specifically women role models, in seeing that you could be this? Like, because I feel like sometimes we don't pursue the things that we can't see. And for
Yes.
me, I've taken a sharp turn into owning my technical identity. But when I look back, I always did tech, I always coded, but I wasn't in an environment where there was anybody saying, oh, you should do more of that, and there's a path. And so I felt like I was very much tracked into an arts and communication path. And now that I have the insight and I have the support, I'm finding myself making that sharp turn into tech. And at the same time, all of my media and communications that I had is still coming into play. And I'm finding that that has a role in tech, because a lot of people don't do what I do. as far as
Yeah.
being the podcaster and the communicator, because I did that for so long. So I'm now
Mhm.
finding joy in bringing these two parts of myself together with this community. But I just want to ask about role models.
Yeah, so I wish I could say I had a female role model, but while starting out, because it would definitely make my process like easy. Um, but initially, I started out with male role models because those were the people that brought me into this space. Uh, I had every single one of my roles that I've undertaken, I've been the only female on the team. And that is one of the reasons why I'm a Women Techmaker Ambassador, because I want to bring more women into my team, into my field, making creating awareness that hey, you can equally do this. Some of these roles like they intersect. You can find you can do tech and what you're doing. You can find a way to embed uh, use technology in whatever role you're doing. So that's one of the things I'm doing as a Women Techmaker Ambassador, creating that awareness. But it wasn't until like my last role, and when I'm saying my last role, this was like 2 years ago, that I had a fellow female on the team. And guess what? We were able to just like talk. It was easier to talk to her because um, she was able to understand things from my perspective. Hey, and understand how to do things um, the way we think. It's different. It's quite different from the way men think, whether it's much more emotional or even logical in some sense, and long term. Uh, I was able to relate with her on that level, and we're able to get work done better because we had better understanding of each other. So it's something I wish that more women do and more create more awareness for that.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing about feeling comfortable with the people that are around us, and that
Yes,
we see other people who look like us, think like us, and yet at the same time that
exactly.
the value that also comes from the diversity on a team and embracing and
Hmm.
welcoming and inviting that diversity, you can get different perspectives. And you made a great point about the long term, and women do have more empathy, so that can also go and extend into
Yes.
user experience, uh,
Hmm.
and and just other people on the team. Also, I think women often tend to be really good mentors and helping to bring other
Yes.
people up on a team. There's a sense of
Hmm.
inclusion and future thinking for people about having a sense of where a project can help them position them, help them position
Hmm.
themselves, kind of move them forward within a company. There's this desire not only to see yourself win, but to see the people around you grow and flourish.
Yes.
And I think that's a very
Hmm.
woman quality that I see.
Hmm. And it's also like you said with inclusion and diversity and all. Whenever you're building, I don't know if you remember the story. I think it was like the story of using your like a I don't know if it's a finger or face biometrics, where they just started using that and they tried it on a woman and it didn't work. Uh, if if a female was involved in that development process, then that biometric form of identity would have, if they had tested that on a woman, um, then it would have worked perfectly. I don't know if you know the story I'm talking about. I think it's an Apple story where they talked about uh, when they wanted to test out like one of the biometrics features on their phone, and they realized that, oh, this is perfect. They thought they had built a perfect product, but it worked on every man, but it didn't work on the woman. And that highlighted the importance of having a woman in your team, because uh, you're not building product for just one gender, you're building for all. So that's very, very important. Mhm.
Yes. And also within race as well, there's a leader in the AI field, and she was doing computer vision, and computer vision could see white people, but it could not see black people. And so there's a
Yes,
very famous
yes.
picture of her holding the white mask because she sort of says, this isn't working. Like, this is not really inclusive. And we are a multicolored humanity, and that it needs to be able to read in that. And I know in my interviews, when I do transcriptions right now, the AI is trained on a very neutral American accent. And if you
Tone,
bring it
yes.
anything else, it just falls apart. It doesn't know how to.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah, the transcripts.
so I think that that's where having different perspectives of gender, of culture, of race help to train models and build inclusivity and have better products that serve more people.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Definitely. That's you just highlighted the importance definitely with with having that diverse range, we're able to build for the world and not just for one, just not just for one specific country or race. So that's very important. Yeah.
And then now talk to me a little bit. You said you found yourself working in health, in
Biotech.
biotech.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
tell me about biotech, because that's sort of an interesting
It's
industry.
it is. So it's something I didn't think I was interested in at all. I just found myself in that role. So basically, I spoke earlier about like figuring out where tech is applicable and not strictly in like just one field. Um, there are other that diverse field where tech is applicable to. So for this, it's actually my current role. I work in a life science solutions team, and we're introducing real-time monitoring and predictive analytics to our product. Um, and this helps. So we handle like ULT, which is like ultra low temperatures, and this helps like gather. I basically help gather data from software. I help gather data from our units, and then our data analyst like reads the data and understand the trends based on uh, monitoring the monitoring he does. He's able to like understand the trends, and then once we see like a certain trend, or maybe he's able to predict like say there's a leakage happening at this point in the machine. Can the maintenance guy, and then he's also able to call the maintenance guy to go fix it. It's amazing. It's actually amazing because first of all, I'm making the maintenance guy like his job easy because we're able to like figure out of the point where there is something wrong with the machine. Also helping the data analyst person on like in his own understand his field better because where he's able to like understand the graphs, understand the machine, how the machines work itself, and then understand how it's applicable for the maintenance person. And then just it helps with like it saves the company a lot of money, and that's very important. Cost optimization is important because we're able to predict when there's a breakdown, like one of our units breakdown. We're able to predict it through the data, and also we're able to schedule future maintenance, so we can avoid costs high costs of replacement. Like it's better to like maintain kind of like your car. It's better to like go for your regular maintenance after certain mileage other than just waiting for the car to break down before you fix it. So like those the importance of that data is where I come in, making sure that the data analyst person gets the data. I have a DevOps background, so um, I'm making sure that through the infrastructures we use, that nothing is broken down. There's no latency, there's no delay in data, there's no breakage somewhere. Or if there's something wrong, I go to my logs and try to fix it. So that's my part in the life science role, in the biotech role, making sure that there's regular flow of data, there nothing is broken behind the scenes, the back end is working. If there's any issue, go back, fix it, and just don't affect the flow of business. Because since it's ultra low temperature and we put things like or products like blood platelets, gene cell therapy, there are all these things that are temperature critical. So it's important to know that know when to. It's important that data is always flowing and not disrupt the work of our doctors or our pharmacies or things like that. Easy, smooth automation of the process, making sure that everything's working. Everything's working the way it should work. Data is coming the way it should come. The analysis, the reports are generated daily, or we have one that we generate like every 10 seconds, making sure that it's not lagging behind. There's no latency. There's in cloud, we call it like high availability.
Yep.
It's always available. It's fault tolerant. When one is down, the other is working, and concept like that. So with cloud, my introduction to cloud was very, very like in my interest in upskilling, because I didn't just want to code forever. I needed to understand more infrastructures and resources that could help me automate my process. So I started with AWS. I'm actually, this week I'm taking one of my professional exams. My DevOps exam this week. But I've had the opportunity to work with all three leading cloud infrastructures. So AWS, Azure, and GCP. Like you mentioned earlier this year, thanks to Women Techmaker, I took the Cloud Digital Leader certificate, and it really showed like how important it is to learn network engineering. So when I started out with Python, Java. I just wanted to code. I didn't have any interest in knowing how things work behind the scenes. I didn't have any interest in knowing much about security. But then over time, network engineering and cybersecurity has shed light of I shed more light on the importance of security. Knowing that it's important to protect your data, knowing how people manipulate your data, even from things that you don't think are important, and people make it important, or you become more aware that something as simple as your date of birth is actually important to some other people. Or I think it's the CIA triad, where we talk about like confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those three, the triad is like actually the background of every, and that sheds some light to the importance of protecting your data, shed some light to the importance of security, shed some light to the importance of networking as well. So the cloud has made me more aware of why network security, network engineering is important. It's important to protect my data, or the data of the data of every application I work with, which is very important, particularly if you're working with PIIs, and exposing that data or can affect the life of the people using the application, my customers. So I had to go back and learn network engineering. If we bring that awareness to people saying, hey, your data should be confidential, know what you're sharing, know where you're sharing it, know why you're sharing it, and also know when to share it. So it's not every time that something pops up on your screen, you click it. Check the link. Not every email you respond to. Know who you're responding to. If you see any random form asking you for information, make sure that it's secured. Something as simple as the basic of the basic, making sure that that website has a SSL, certificate, or which is like that padlock. People also need to take these measures. Say, one of the most popular measure would be your MFA. Or maybe let me not even go into MFA. Changing your passwords. Don't use the same password for everything. And then next can be MFA. I know it can be a pain. Or if you don't want to try multi-factor authentication, you can try the 2FA and just do two steps. Start with 2 steps, and then for me, personally, I about sometime in 2019, I'm Nigerian as well, so I was doing my master's in Louisiana State University, and I was just about to go to bed, and something just told me to check my bank account, my Nigerian bank account, and I don't know whatever that thing was, but I just listened, and then I was like, I checked, and all of a sudden, a reasonable amount of money had disappeared. It's like, I didn't authorize this transaction. How did this leave my account? Come to think of it, it was something as simple as me not changing my phone number. So because I didn't change my phone number, they had barred my line and given it to somebody else. And the person that had my phone number had access to my bank account because I had authenticated that feature to have access to my bank. So that was something that I knew, like, hey, I should have changed this, on my end, even as a software engineer, I should have changed that before, leaving the country. But again, you learn by experience, and I know that's never going to happen to me again. What did I do? The next measure I took was to create awareness. I tutor a lot of people, and sometimes just give consulting advice. And I had this friend that was doing her PhD, she was working on a GIS application, basically to retrieve data from the roadside. I think they were trying to figure out something about figuring out why the kind of granite they use on the road, and why it takes it's you get a pothole or something, it goes bad over a period of time. And to me, I was just looking like, why are they doing this? But to them, they understand the data. So they understand the data, they understand key concepts behind GIS that I don't. So she came to meet me, and the platform we were using then was Azure. And basically, we collect data, and then I taught her how to put it on SQL tables, and make sure that you have your primary key, make sure that you're able to collect data from here and here. And then also, when you want to use it on a website or on a dashboard, the APIs you use, and how to make it look clean. And to me, I was just doing something I understand as a developer. Hey, this is how you pull data. This is how you arrange the data. If you want to graph it, this is your X, this is your Y. But to her, it was like, oh, thank you so much. This makes my job so easy, kind of deal. And I was like, okay, I'm glad you're happy. But like you just said, like finding that ground, finding that point of interest, and finding that area of interest where you can add value that you probably didn't know it existed before. It gives you a sense of fulfillment. Also up to you to like figure out when you're bored, like what to like how to the new next level. One thing I've done because I once I figure something out, I want to just like I'm bored and I just want the next new thing. So I think one thing that helps me out is creating a list. Uh, and sometimes uh, you don't know you're overskilled or underskilled until you take a task. So if how do you know you're underskilled if you don't know the task? Or how do you know you're overskilled if you don't know the project? So basically one thing that helps me out is I just started this a couple months ago. I have a list of topics that are interesting to me. It ranges from the basics of the basics in um, network engineering uh, to all the way to Vertex AI. And I know because I have that list and I'm intentional with upskilling and intentional with wanting to know more, I can never be bored. Because guess what? The minute I'm bored, I go back to that list and say, okay, it's time to take this course on whatever platform I choose. It's time to take this course. It's time to take this certification. Certifications can be expensive. So let me just say it's time to take this course. It's time to watch videos about this course. It's time to read books about this course. It's time to uh, understand how this works. And then I don't believe that any knowledge is wasted. Eventually, eventually, it might not be right now, you would have use of that knowledge. Sometimes um, my I gave an example a couple of weeks ago of how my dad had come to visit me, and I didn't have a toolbox, and he bought me a toolbox. But I'm like, I'm female, I don't need a toolbox. Like, why would I ever need a toolbox? And a couple of weeks ago, my friend comes and she needed to put her plate number in the front of her car, and I was like, oh, I have a toolbox. Let me go get it. Like, and she laughs at me and she's like, why do you have a toolbox? And like, my dad bought it for me because he needed to fix something in my house and felt that I needed that toolbox. Like I wouldn't know whenever I would need it. And then at that minute, I'm like, ah, okay, okay, I guess I do need it. Like you don't know when you need what you have. When whether you're underskilled or overskilled or or underprepared, it that is only a factor of the current project you're in. If you're underskilled, there's tendency and there's time for you to skill up. If you're overskilled, then you can automate that process and then go. Or you're bored, go to your um, not so bored list and pick something to make you not bored. Yeah, I know like there's a couple people, particularly with like tech certifications or sorry, cloud certifications that just quit their actual jobs and then just went full time into creating um, coursework or knowledge path towards attaining the certification or even creating past questions and things like that. And it's working out for them. I think if the interest is there for you, it would also work out for you as well. About creating like platforms for people that want to go into cybersecurity and like just like learning, um, like hands-on learning on based on the platform you create. I just thought about something. So a couple of days ago, um, someone was just talking to me about learning Python, and
Mhm.
he mentioned that I was like, oh, okay. I recommended a person for him. I was like, oh, this is who taught me how to code in Python. Go take that. tutorial, you should be fine. And he immediately said no, that he doesn't learn that way. You know, he doesn't learn that way. He learns when someone teaches him, and then he goes, kind of like classroom kind of method where your teacher teaches you and then they give you an assignment and you have to do the assignment and then you're graded based on your performance. So he has that's the approach that he's used to. He's used to like learning based on a professor in class, like a teacher in class. So if you possibly like have the time and you like that kind of teacher student relationship where you're creating and you can also record the videos because it's interactive and it's so you have a class you're teaching. I don't even know if you have the time for that. That's another question. And then you're teaching the students and then they're like giving you feedback and then you post the exact same video and try to use that video to teach other people online as well. It's two different ways to create revenue as well. That just popped into my head.
No, you're absolutely right. And I love what you were saying about the idea of assignments, the idea of, hey, you're accountable. Hey, you can send this to me. And I think that that's where the idea is, for me, it's like if enough people watch a video, like again, YouTube pays me. So I'm actually I'm not wanting to step out selling anything directly to the end user, except for sort of asking for their time and attention and earning their time and attention. And then I figure, yeah, from there it should be organic. If people are like, hey, enough people are saying, can you create something? And it doesn't fit the YouTube model, then it makes sense to sort of say, okay, I'll put it over here on Teachable. And then you just, pay a one-time fee or a recurring fee. So
that makes sense.
That's sort of, but yeah, no, you're giving me a lot more confidence because there was a part of me going, what did I just sign up for? But another part of me that says, I kind of think I've been meaning to do this because as much as I've sort of thought about, oh, I'd like to make money on YouTube, I realize you don't really want to do that without setting up a company. And I've set up before. I mean, that's just small. I mean, but it's legal, it's registered, it'll have its own bank account. Because I also realize like a lot of the things I want to do are no longer sustainable as one. Like for example, I do
you need
I do
help.
And so I think so that's the part I'm most excited about is like, ooh, I wonder what all this looks like when I actually have some help.
But do you know the funny thing is that I think we as human beings, we have the tendency to like take on things that pressure challenges and like put pressure on us. So you having help is good for you, but then if you like that feeling, if you like that rush of just having something new that would challenge you, you would find something else to fill that void. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, but the help is because I feel like for a long time, like you talk about writing things down that to challenge you, and I think the thing I've been writing down for so long has been build my YouTube channel, and realizing that I just can't do it by myself. Like it's like I always come back to why am I not doing it, and it's like, oh, it's just too big of a lift for me to do it by myself.
Philippa, now is the time. Now is the time. You can do it. You can definitely do it. With her help, you can definitely do it. And hey, let me know. I'll be your first subscriber. I would subscribe immediately. So
I love it.
I love like knowledge sharing, and I love particularly when it's like actively engaging. And then you have a purpose, you have a goal towards it, you have a vision for it. And guess what? The purpose of a vision is for you to like achieve that vision, and it's also carry along other people to make sure that that vision is achieved. So that's the fact that you've already thought about it, and you're now resources are coming to make sure you achieve that goal. It's even more possible now.
Yeah,
The
I
question
feel
is,
that way.
what is stopping you?
Well, actually, literally, I went to the EIN for the IRS and they're like, our
Mhm.
portal's not available right now. So literally what is
Ah.
stopping me is that on Monday, I just have to go get that set up and then we'll be legal. And
This is
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, and actually, I feel like I said a big lane of what I want to do. Again, I have all these ideas, just to be clear, like of all these content things that I've created, all these little micro brands. And so it's not
Mhm.
one channel that I want to create. It's actually 10. And I may not develop all of
Oh.
them, but the idea is that any idea that I get can fit in a bucket or can fit in one of a
Mhm.
couple buckets, because that's what
Mhm.
excites me, is that there's so many different stories to tell. But I know that a really good channel thrives because the audience knows what to expect. So I'm not so all over the place. I can be
Yeah.
all over the place, all over YouTube, but on one
Mhm.
channel, there's a lane. There's like a plan of what that channel subscriber
It's
can
all
expect.
about, yes.
And so one
Yeah.
of the channels is Risk Awareness Now, and another one is Disaster Awareness Now. And they're different. They're similar and different because disaster can deal a lot more with
Are
natural
they both
disasters.
cyber based as well? So
Well,
cyber
that's what I
risk
was.
awareness, and then cyber, do you say disaster?
So one is the original idea was disaster awareness now, and because my
Okay.
major is human security and geospatial intelligence, disaster
Mhm.
can relate to natural disaster, technological
Mhm.
disaster. There's a slight difference between what is a disaster versus what is a risk.
Risk.
And so I then decided to just make a second channel, which is risk. So I feel like
Mhm.
more of the cybersecurity stories fall into risk, because risk is trying to prevent
Prepare.
it.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
But
Preparation
sometimes you're
for.
going to cover disasters because there's a lot of
Yeah.
cybersecurity things that elevate to the level of disaster. But I think a lot
Mhm.
more of the cybersecurity conversation fits better under a risk brand than a
Mhm.
disaster brand, because disaster is going to deal a lot more with fires, earthquake, floods, climate impact, um, war,
Mm.
poverty, like other global issues that we're dealing with. So
Yeah.
they're similar but slightly different.
But
And so
slightly different.
yeah. So the idea of
Yeah.
the risk awareness now is that we can really create a cybersecurity awareness campaign on that platform. And in that cybersecurity awareness, that's where I see being able to potentially, if the mentees and people in my community need work experience, we can be sort of cyber consultants.
Nice. That is that's great. That's a great idea. Um, Particularly because you're identifying the differences as well. That is a great initiative. That is wonderful. I think if done well, it's something that could potentially go into something bigger, even bigger than what you're thinking.
And just, but I'm like, we have one job, which is what joyfully rings the register. That's my, but it has to be
That's
joyful.
yeah.
And it has to have integrity. That's like, those
Yeah.
are the things that matter to me.
Yes.
Very like why, like
Uh,
consulting services and things like that. I always, like I said,
yes.
integrity is a really big one for me, that I'm delivering value, because I know that if you build from a good reputation, it
Your business
just,
speaks for itself. Yeah. It just spirals for itself. You don't even have to say much because you're built on integrity. Um, then people just recognize that whatever they do with you, it's good business. No matter what any other person says, it's people's testimonials will speak for your business. So integrity is important.
you've heard about my, sort of new ventures, and it feels right. I realize I'm going to be doing government work. I'm going to be doing government internships. I am going to be a student for another 2 years, and I have room in my schedule. I'm no longer just like maxed
Mhm.
out on units, that I'm like, oh, this gives me like time to play. It's not like, because I think one of the things that I notice is when you graduate, there's this magic hour where you're sort of hope and potential. You're so good to be recruited by big companies. Whereas if I just kind of go do my own thing, the immediate when I graduate, it's kind of hard to regroup 2 years later, where they're like, why do
Mhm.
you want to come to us now? And, oh, you're an entrepreneur. Like,
Yes.
why don't you just go do that? Or,
Do
oh, it's
that.
an art.
Mhm.
Like, you have the stench of failure. So you have to like be very
Oh,
careful about how
yes.
you present in the entrepreneurial world. But if it's more like, oh, this is just like time I'm filling in for
Mhm.
this period of time before I graduate, that runs in parallel to my internships, that runs in parallel to having health insurance. Like, there's no fear. There's a little bit of money that I need to make sure this company exists and can, you know, sort of meet its obligations, like, you know, supporting a staff member. But at the same time, it still feels like there's not a lot of pressure on it. And my goal out of it is, I was made it very clear to her, is like, if I can use it to knock out my student loans and I can graduate with less or no loans, that's a win for me. That's my goal. That's what I want to get out of it.
That's a win, definitely.
That was my split the baby kind of, but it's taken me a lot of mental gymnastics to get here.
Mental gymnastics. I like that. Yeah, I mean, like, one thing that stood out to me with what you just said is, when you're the vision carrier, you have the most difficult job. Why do you have the most difficult job? Because you see the end even before the beginning. So you have a vision for where you want to go. You already see, you see yourself making the revenue from your business already, like from all the platforms you're setting with all the platforms, YouTube platforms and all. You already see that, you know, it's processing. This is where you want to get to. The most difficult part is starting and getting to that point where that's in your head, getting to that vision that's in your head. So what I always try to do, because I'm on the same boat as well, I in January, because I wanted to like improve my vocabulary, because I wanted to improve my writing skills, and just do much more than coding, I wanted to start blogging. And I kid you not, I've already written a lot of I've written down a lot of like blogs, like, but they're just on my computer. I had the fear of just posting them, because I'm just like, what if I post it and it does bad? What if I post it and then it just ends up backfiring on me? Or what if I post it? Like, all this like thoughts that, you know, they're not even real, because they haven't happened yet. It's just in my head. So the thing is, I'm already putting in the work. I'm already putting in the effort. I already have like 3 articles written. I just need to post them. And I fought with myself for like 2 weeks. I was like, finally, I'm going to post one. So I just posted one like 2 weeks ago, and the feedback I was getting was even like, I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Why didn't
Well,
I
and
do
I have a great tool that I'm going to recommend to you. She's a fellow Women Techmaker Ambassador. She's the founder. It's her tech company. And she's also come in as one of our sponsors for our mentorship program. And I love this platform. It's for women. So it's by a woman, for a woman. And it's called hypehq.io. And it is a place where you can take your blog, and if you even make a post on LinkedIn about your blog with a link to your blog, you can sort of maybe get that double awareness, because they can see and interact with you on LinkedIn, and then they can also kind of click through to your blog. And when you sign up, you automatically get 100 points, and 100 points allows you to make a request of the community of fellow women to give you some love. It's called Hype HQ. It's there to hype you up.
some hype?
Absolutely. And so whether you say like it, share it, a comment, just interact, like, you can make it as specific or as general as what you want. And the person who's fulfilling the hype will take a screenshot or also provide a link to where they made the comment. You can be very specific about what platform you want them to interact on. And you can put a little screenshot or a picture, you know, related to your post request. You can see in kind of the activity stream what other people's look like. And it actually almost makes sense sometimes to like just go through and see what other people are asking for before you kind of make your own request. And then when you make that request, you've now spent your 100 points, but you can earn more points by doing the same thing for others. That's how others are motivated to interact with your post, because they're trying to earn points to make their next request.
Your next request. That is lovely.
ways
Yeah.
that you interact with others and you fulfill 5 other requests. And really, they don't take much time. I mean, some people will say, hey, if you want to listen to my podcast or you want to watch the whole video, you can. But it's really just, hey, come check it out. Come interact. Come help the algorithm sort of find this and help other people see that there's visibility. And if it really aligns with you, share it with your community. So it just goes bigger. And so there's so many of them on there to choose from that that you can really go towards the ones that align with you and that are genuinely of interest to you. So you're finding like, and I have found like some of the videos and blogs that I've been led to have totally taken me places to people I'm like, I am so glad I met this person. I am so glad this person's in my life. Like one of them is a woman who did an amazing video on StreamYard. I use StreamYard and yet I underutilize it. And she just showed me 50 different tools and techniques of how I can be broadcast quality, just take everything I'm doing to another level. So it's good just for your own building another women community of super supportive women, but it's also a way to get your stuff amplified.
Yeah. I'll definitely check
And
that out. Yeah, I'm very
so
interested in it.
hypehq.io for everybody's benefit.
Perfect. I'll
And then
definitely use that because I have a new article coming up soon, so I will be using that.
it is so fun because you get joy from hyping other people up, but also the ability to sort of see your thing just kind of get all that love and attention. And people are very nice and very supportive, and everybody's there to just love on each other in a way that like just helps create better visibility. And she did it because she just felt like there weren't enough spaces for women.
Nice. That is
To
a good initiative. Yeah. And it's valuable because it's women adding value to other women supporting other women as well.
Yes. And so giving them visibility, helping them be recognized as that expert, or helping them with their small business or whatever it is. It's just a good way to write that blog. And like you said, you already have your community, you already have people cheering you on, but this even makes you look better to them because they're like, oh, where'd you get all this extra attention?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'll definitely check that out. Um, but because I took steps into actualizing that vision, it looks even more achievable than ever. And because you just shared a hype HQ to me, it even looks much more achievable as well. Um, and then I have this quote that I live by. It's if I do nothing, then I don't progress. So every morning when I wake up and see that quote, it's no matter how lazy I am, I just stop being lazy because I'm like, oh, I need to do something to add to my progress because yesterday's progress is not today's progress. Like there has to be, I have to do something enough to make sure that yes, I have improved from wherever I am, from wherever point I am, uh, from yesterday, basically. I've improved today. So slowly but surely, even if the vision looks much more difficult, it's achievable by taking baby steps.
Yes. And I think when we do it collaboratively and in community, and that's where having this community. So when you do those things,
Yeah.
and I
The
know every
blessing.
time I say that I've completed a certificate with or without Hype HQ, I am just getting the applause from my community. And that just feels so good for everybody to be cheering me on, saying, keep going, keep going.
Yes, yes, yes. When did you do your cloud leadership certificate? Did you do it back in April before cloud?
No, I was part of the ISC squared spring camp,
Okay.
and then I ended up doing the both tests the same week in June or early July. I want to say like late June. I feel like is when I did it because I did both of them a week apart, one in person and one online, and that's actually where I found that the cybersecurity certified in cybersecurity and the cloud digital leader had a 1/3 crossover. So Cloud Digital Leader had about a third security questions, and Certified in Cybersecurity had about a third cloud questions. So that's another thing, just as people are studying all these things, that you will find a lot of things that do repeat or build on each other, and that certain foundational skills you'll start seeing over and over again. And like we talked about the CIA triad before, like you'll see that a lot of places. It was on both exams. And
even the triad was in my exam for the CIA triad. It was in my exam
and I'm got the scholarship to do the Google Coursera certificates. And within that scholarship, I had started all of them, like all 9 certificates. And at first I was like, oh, it's super intimidating. And then I just got through, and they're all very basic, all very foundational. But now I'm at the point where they're starting to get really repetitive. So I'm able to sort of like test out of things just a lot faster. So it's another part. It's like once you start getting going, it's easier to keep going because I think coding the same way.
If you didn't continue, you wouldn't know that it gets easier. It would just look much more difficult if you don't continue.
And it's the same thing with what you were saying before. It's like when you're learning cloud, like there's things that are unique to GCP or Azure or AWS, but there's a lot of things that are similar.
Yes.
And the same thing in, I was going to say that's one example. Oh, just coding, different languages, you know, whether it's the first time you're starting with HTML or Python or Java, like there's on one level, like, oh, they're so far apart. And another level, it's like coding's coding. Once you understand like the IDE and sort of the logics and how you're breaking down a problem and the preposition, it starts getting easier. And I think even with foreign languages, if you've never done a foreign language, but like once you start understanding the tenses and
I read something today about, so I'm a Wordler. I love Wordle so much. I started like 2 months ago, and I've been on a streak. I'm on a streak right now. I'm on a winning streak right now. And this morning, I read about a Scrabbler that learned words in French and wanted to do went into a French Scrabble competition against French speaking people, and he hoping to win. So he was already a champion in English, like with English Scrabbling, but like he wasn't like he didn't speak French, so they thought it's an easy win for them. Like he's not gonna win them. And just by learning French words every day up until the competition, he became a French champion. He became a French Scrabble champion, like over French speakers. So like learning a new language, it's just hard in the beginning, but like when you have become accustomed to the syntax, the semantics, the grammar, how it's spoken, then it becomes easy over time. And because of that, he was able to like become the champion. I thought that was really funny when I read that story. I was like, how is that possible? Like these are indigenous speakers and you're coming in as a learned speaker. Like you just started learning the language a couple months ago and now you're the champion. How is that possible? But impossible is nothing. Like if you put in the effort, then the effort itself would speak for itself. You can become the champion like he is.
Well, and also putting context to that as well, like learning words is its own challenge and it's something, but it's studyable. Yes. The thing that's less learnable as quickly is the context. Like I think when someone's not a native speaker, a lot of times people will refer to movies and cultural figures and celebrities, and those are the harder ones to grasp. Or we have turns of phrases that don't really make much sense, but we've all said it that way for so long that it makes sense to us. And so that's the stuff that takes more time in. But you're absolutely right. If you just systematically and scientifically say, let's take the words, that's studyable. And he did it. He proved that that's studyable. And because a lot of French speakers will say, or any native speaker will say, well, I know all the turns of phrases and the cultural references and the things that make me a native speaker. They're not going to take the time to just study the words exactly the way that he did. And so it's interesting kind of that certain things you can really, hit it with focused research and attention. And then other things you do need the time and the cultural references and the things you will only learn from true native speakers and having those dialogues and understanding the thought
But
process.
it becomes easier because he's put in the work. Because
Oh,
now he just has
absolutely.
to stay in, maybe he spent like 2, 3 months in Paris and then figure out, oh, this is how they use this word. I've read it, but now I get to see the context in which they use it.
Yep.
Um,
I've been studying Russian and Ukrainian, which are different languages, but there's a fair amount of crossover.
mhm.
And I've gotten to the point where I can pretty much read both languages. I can I and if it, the thing about it is that it looks a lot harder than it is. Like once you learn the alphabet, not that hard.
It becomes easy.
And the other thing about Russian, which I don't, is that the number of words that are either English or French, when you actually read it, because you just have to get past the Cyrillic, passport is passport.
Yep.
Russia is Russia. Like there's all restaurant is restaurant. Like once you actually like phonetically just go through it,
Yeah.
beach is plage, which is the French word for beach.
The
So
pitch.
it's
Yeah.
not as I mean, obviously every language has its own vocabulary, but once you again start getting those vocabulary, but if you're just go looking at a sentence that you're not sure, you can really get a comfort with it just from all the ones that are sort of recognizable. And then as you start to pour in the other new vocabulary words, but even some of the words make sense. Like work is robota, and then machina is car. So
Like,
there's a whole lot of other words. Like once you see them, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's some thought process into creating these words, whether you have a Latin foundation or like, take for example in a spelling bee. We've gone now we're talking about spelling bees. Like there's a reason why the speller would ask where the foundation of the word from. Is it from Latin? Is it from whatever country? Does it mean this? Um, you know, and that would help them spell the word, because oh, if it's in Russia, it's written in this way. If it's in Spanish, it's written, the O, the A. If it's in French, it's pronounced in such a French way. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Languages, whether it be coding languages or actual speaking languages, they're a very interesting concept because it's it's the way we understand each other. It's for coding language, it's the way we communicate to the computer. For actual like human languages, it's the way we speak and communicate to each other.
As adults need to be okay making our mistakes. We think it's really cute and funny when like a little kid stumbles through a language and we kind of say, "Oh, isn't that adorable?" But that's how you learn a language is through immersion and through trial and error. And that as adults, we sort of judge ourselves like, I can't mess up, I can't say it imperfectly, so I just won't say it at all. And I think same thing with coding. It's
Hmm.
if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it. And you have to just get in there and go. You have to get in there and play. You have to get in there and practice. And that it all becomes easier. That once you start to find that momentum,
Hmm.
and I think studying languages, studying code, building things, growing, and same thing with our cybersecurity. Like just as the more practice we get, better at it we'll get. So it really is the public speaking, being up podcasting, whatever it is. It's just begin, find that momentum, and
Yes, yeah. Just like you said, I think you checked all the boxes. It's do things that would help you improve. Whenever you feel like you've made a mistake, it's a it's not a mistake. It's either redirection or it's an avenue for you to understand things better. Also, it's also important that when you're communicating with someone or that isn't like that is trying to give up because they're experiencing such or because of a mistake, um, share your story with them. Give them a sort of enlightenment or an opportunity to see that, yeah, you're not alone. I've been through this before and it didn't kill me. Now I'm out of it, and because I'm out of it, you can be out of it as well. Let's face new problems, let's get new solution, and let's just keep going until we get to the point where we want to get to. Yeah.